Okay. Now, during that time, Nicky Barnes and the council was in full swing in Harlem.
So, yeah, so they were, yeah. I didn't know too much about it at that time.
Okay. At what point did you actually get put on the Nicky Barnes case?
Circa, I think 1976 or so.
Okay. So let's talk about Nicky Barnes for a second. Leroy Nicholas Barnes. Born in 1933. You actually call him the Al Capone of Harlem.
Yes, I did.
Why would you call him that?
Because he did a lot of things like that. He had a lot of respect. The main thing is because he had a lot of respect. He was tough, just like Al was. And he got shit done. The hard way or the easy way.
Okay. And at that point, there was no crack. And cocaine was more of like a rich man's drug.
Yes.
So it was mostly heroin.
Yes.
Which is really a terrible drug.
Yes.
Like the kind of stories I hear of people that are hooked on heroin, like women having sex with dogs and just really hideous things in order to get a hit.
Yes.
Like what were some of the worst things that you were seeing out there in terms of heroin addicts?
Well, they call it the nod. The guy is nodding out on the subway, falling into the tracks and get run over.
Wow.
Basically that, just poor human beings. They turn into poor human beings like, nothing, rags, and they're hanging out in the street. And then these guys too would do crimes from time to time. But other than that, that was basically the scene.
So in 1972, Nicky Barnes actually formed the Council, which is a 7-man African-American organized crime syndicate which controlled most of the heroin that was actually happening in New York City.
Yes.
So, of course, it was Nicky Barnes, Joseph Jazz Hayden, Wallace Rice, Thomas Gaps Foreman, Ishmael Muhammad,
correct,
Frank James, and Guy Fisher.
Yes.
And I guess it was actually modeled after the Mafia?
Yes. Matter of fact, Joe taught him these things. He gave him what to deal with. He gave him the examples and the model of how to deal with that kind of situation.
Okay. So explain to me how the council and the Mafia was working, the Italian Mafia was working together.
I don't know that they worked together, but they had mutual sources of supply. Like Matty Madonna was Nicky's source of supply for a long time. Mm-hmm. And basically they shared dope with one another, one clique to another. And sometimes one guy got more dope, he gave it to the other guy. They shared money together. It was really a consortium of cooperation and brotherhood.
Okay. So the Italian mob and the council were never really at war with each other?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. And they became like an international drug trafficking ring.
Correct.
At one point. Where was the dope coming from? Like other countries?
Well, the Italians got it. It's coming from the Golden Triangle, China White.
Okay. So Italians would bring it in and sell it to the council.
Correct.
Essentially. So they were.
And others, of course, for that.
And others, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know about how much, heroin was running through during this time, like on a yearly basis?
I'll tell you, it was hundreds of kilos would come in.
Okay. And then by 1975, that's when you actually started to work on the Nicky Barnes case yourself. So tell me how you first really got into that organization and what your cover was.
Okay, do I tell you how I got into it?
Go ahead.
Okay. We were group 13. It was a group with 8 guys and a supervisor. And each one of us was responsible for his own cases. You buddied up with a partner, you did your own case. If you needed support, you got the other guys to deal with your surveillance, so forth and so on. Then there was another group, the conspiracy group in the Southern District of New York, which was headed by Don Ferrone. And the work that they had to do was they put together old cases, right? And they found out common denominators that didn't know the other guy. So they put them together based on the intelligence they got on who they were and what they did. So they formed one big case and got a lot of people as a result of that. In this particular instance, Ford was an FBI, I believe it was his name, Ford. Ford was an FBI agent. And he came across this guy, Geronimo, right? They wanted him to cooperate with them on the Italians. Geronimo would not. He says, no, I ain't going to do that. His uncle was a big guy and with the Lucchese family. So, but he still wanted to cooperate. So he brought him over to the Southern Conspiracy Group with Don Ferrone. And he laid out what he could do. So basically I grew up with Wally Fisher. I knew the guys there, so forth and so on. I can get you into that. Don Ferrone, the lights went on. He said, I got the guy for you. He brought him over to the group. He introduced him to me. And the moment he introduced me to me, I went on fire. I knew this guy was on. Because he reminded me of a childhood friend, Mikey Calavito, who went wrong. Matter of fact, they found him in a trash can one thing, in pieces. But anyway, I felt good about it, you know? So we talked, and then I told him, when these guys leave for coffee, me and you are going to talk. So he did, and we talked. And I told him, listen, we're going to do things this way. I got to trust you, and you got to trust me. And if you fuck me, I'll fuck you too, right? So anyway, we did that, and we created a story. I got to come up with a story. You're my cousin. We said that he was my cousin. So I thought about it, and I said, you know what? Let me think about this. And I came up with a background story. And basically, I was an associate of the mob, with various families. I did different things for them. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, maybe a little whack here and a whack there, and money changing, stolen goods, things of that sort. But I got too hot. They were looking at me with a jaw on the side. They think, this guy, wait a minute. He's with them, he's not with me. So I went out to California to cool out for a couple of years. I got tired of Surf City, you know? So I came back, and when I came back, I wanted to get back into business. But I wasn't going to deal with the Italians. They wanted nothing to do with me. So that's when I met Geronimo. And Geronimo was supposed to be my cousin. So I said, G, call him G, I want to get back into the business. So G says, I got the guy, which is Wally Fisher, Guy Fisher's brother. So we talked about it. He says, I want to bring it there. So we went to Harlem one night, and we drove up in a Cadillac. And I remember there was a barrel, there was a fire coming out of it, winter was fire coming out of it. So Geronimo gets out the car, and he starts talking to him. I can see them talking. So he comes over to the car. I get out. I shake hands with Wally. We start talking. I says, if you are who you are, we're going to do business together, me and you. He says, yes, we will. So that started it. And then from there, we did our thing.
Okay, so you first started with Wally Fisher,
Correct.
which is Guy Fisher's brother.
Correct.
Who's part of the commission.
Correct.
At what point did you actually get close to Nicky Barnes?
There was never a time that I talked to him or shook hands with him, but he knew I was around. Matter of fact, there was a time when I was in Harlem River Motors Garage doing a deal with Bo Hatcher for half a key, and he was in the office looking straight at me. So when I did the deal, I stared back at him, so I knew he knew me. He knew I knew him. So I did the deal with Bo Hatcher. I drove the car out with a half a kilo in the back seat and right in the trunk, and then from there we went on.